Jake Miller's boots crunched on the gravel as he stepped out of his truck at the job site, the morning sun casting long shadows over Springville, Ohio. At 48, he ran Miller Plumbing, a business he'd built from a single wrench to a fleet of 8 trucks serving 3 counties. Today, he was at a new subdivision, checking on a crew installing water lines for a row of half-built houses. His youngest employee, 19-year-old Carlos, was struggling with a pipe joint, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool March air. "Easy, kid," Jake said, kneeling beside him. "Line it up first, then tighten. Like this." He guided Carlos's hands, showing him the angle. The kid grinned when the joint clicked into place. "Thanks, boss. You make it look simple." Jake clapped his shoulder. "Comes with time. Keep at it, and you'll be running your own crew someday." Moments like these, passing on what he'd learned, kept Jake grounded. His work wasn't glamorous, but it was honest, and it had given his family a good life. Back at the office, Jake reviewed invoices, the numbers looking strong. His business was thriving, enough to fund his daughter Emily's wedding, a $50,000 gift for her dream day. At 22, Emily was the light of his life, a dental hygienist with her mother Laura's laugh and Jake's stubborn streak. He'd raised her through late-night homework sessions, soccer games, and teaching her to drive his old pickup. The thought of her June wedding brought a smile, even if planning it had strained things at home. Laura had been distant lately, always out with friends or at book club. Jake didn't pry. He'd learned years ago that pushing Laura only led to fights. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but he figured 25 years together meant something. He focused on work and Emily, trusting things would settle. That evening, he was in his small office at home, finalizing a contract for a new development, when Laura's car pulled into the driveway. Her voice cut through the quiet house. "Jake, we need to talk." He found her in the kitchen, standing by the counter, clutching her purse like a shield. Her tone was clipped, the one she used when she'd already decided something. "It's about Emily's wedding," she said, not meeting his eyes. "She's made a choice about who's walking her down the aisle." Jake's coffee mug paused midair. "She wants Tom to do it," Laura said, the words spilling out fast. "She thinks it's meaningful, since he's been close to us lately." Tom Hayes, Jake's former business partner, his best friend for 15 years until he'd bought Tom out of the company 5 years ago for $150,000. They'd started Miller Plumbing together, splitting everything 50-50, Jake handling the crews, Tom the deals. The buyout had been amicable, or so Jake thought. Tom had wanted new opportunities. Now, Jake's stomach twisted as the truth hit. Tom wasn't just close to the family. He was Laura's lover. And Emily, his little girl, wanted him to walk her down the aisle at the wedding Jake was paying for. The mug hit the counter with a soft clink, his hands steady despite the storm inside. "I see," he said, his voice calm as steel. Laura blinked, expecting anger, tears, maybe a slammed door. Instead, Jake sipped his coffee, his face unreadable. "You okay with this?" he asked. Laura shifted, uneasy. "It's what Emily wants. Tom's been there for her, especially when you're always working." The jab landed, but Jake didn't flinch. "Right," he said. "I'll think it over." He walked back to his office, shutting the door. Laura called after him. "You're still invited, Jake. You can still be part of it." Like he was a guest at his own daughter's wedding. He sat at his desk, the wedding budget spreadsheet glowing on his laptop screen. Venue, $15,000. Caterer, $12,000. Florist, band, photographer. Every dollar from his sweat, his calloused hands, his 5 mornings. 22 years of raising Emily, bandaging scraped knees, cheering at graduations, saving for her future. And now this. Jake didn't yell. He didn't break anything. He opened his banking app and stared at the wedding account. $50,000, ready to make Emily's day perfect. His jaw tightened. If Tom was the father figure now, let him foot the bill. Jake's fingers moved fast, transferring the entire sum to his business savings. Then he picked up the phone. "Hi, this is Jake Miller," he told the venue coordinator. "I'm canceling the wedding reception for Emily Miller, June 15th. The woman stammered, "But sir, the deposit." "Keep it," Jake cut in. "Send a cancellation notice to the bride." He called the caterer next, then the florist, the photographer. Each call was quick, professional, no explanations beyond services no longer needed. Within an hour, every vendor was canceled, every contract in his name voided. The check for Emily's dress, written that morning, he stopped payment with a single call to the bank. By the time Laura knocked on his door, The wedding was in ashes. "Jake, what are you doing?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "Bookkeeping," he replied, not looking up. "Just tying up loose ends." "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "This is Emily's day." Jake leaned back, meeting her eyes for the first time. If Tom's walking her down the aisle, he can pay for the party. Seems fair. Laura's face paled, but she had no comeback. She stormed out, slamming the door. Jake exhaled, the weight of 25 years pressing on his chest. He opened a drawer and found a file he hadn't touched in months. A deed for a fishing cabin in Kentucky, bought last year as a business investment. He'd forgotten about it, but now it felt like a lifeline. The next morning, Jake was up at dawn, packing a duffel bag and his fishing gear. His phone buzzed. Laura, then Emily, then a friend trying to mediate. He ignored them all, tossing the phone into the glove box of his truck. Springville could wait. He needed clarity, and the open road to Kentucky promised it. As he drove past the town limits, the sign for Miller Plumbing caught his eye. His life's work, his legacy, and now maybe his way out. Jake Miller's truck rumbled along the highway toward Kentucky, the Springville, Ohio, skyline fading in his rearview mirror. The morning air was crisp, the road empty, and for the first time in years, Jake felt a flicker of freedom. He'd canceled every vendor for his daughter Emily's wedding. $50,000 worth of contracts voided in a single hour the previous night. Venue, caterer, florist, band, photographer, all gone. The funds moved to his business account. His wife Laura and daughter Emily had chosen Tom Hayes, Laura's lover and Jake's former partner, to walk Emily down the aisle. Jake's response was surgical. If Tom was family now, he could pay. Back in Springville, the fallout began before Jake's truck crossed the state line. Laura called the venue, expecting to smooth things over, only to learn the cancellation was final. Mr. Miller was clear, the coordinator said. All future correspondence goes to the bride. Laura tried the caterer next, then the florist. Each call met with the same response. Services terminated per Jake Miller's request. By noon, she was frantic, leaving voicemails Jake wouldn't hear. "Jake, this is insane. You can't just erase Emily's wedding." Emily's texts were more desperate. "Dad, please call me. We can fix this." Jake's phone stayed off, tucked in the glove box. In Springville, word spread like wildfire through the town's 10,000 residents. Jake's crew at Miller Plumbing caught wind first. Carlos, the young worker Jake had mentored, overheard a vendor's complaint at a coffee shop and texted the crew group chat. "Boss canceled the wedding? That true?" By lunch, the local diner was buzzing. Heard Delaware pulled the plug on his girl's big day. One contractor muttered, using Jake's nickname. "Can't blame him. Tom Hayes? That's low." Another nodded. "Takes guts to stand up like that." Jake's quiet rebellion was becoming a local legend. Jake reached his Kentucky cabin by mid-afternoon, a modest cedar structure on 10 acres by a private lake. He bought it last year on a whim, calling it an investment to Laura. Now, it was his sanctuary. He unloaded his fishing gear and a cooler of beer, the lake's calm surface reflecting the pines. No phone, no emails, just silence. He cast a line from the dock, the rhythm of the reel steadying his thoughts. Back home, he'd been the provider, the fixer, the man who never said no. Here, he owed nothing to anyone. In Springville, Emily faced the wreckage. She drove to the venue, pleading with the coordinator. "There's been a mistake. My dad's just upset." The coordinator shook her head. "No mistake, Miss Miller. Your father canceled everything. You'll need to rebook and pay anew." Emily's fiancé, Tanner, sat quietly in the car, his silence louder than her frustration. "This is humiliating," she muttered. "Why would Dad do this?" Tanner shrugged. "Maybe he's got a point." Emily glared. "You're not helping." Laura, meanwhile, confronted Tom at his apartment. "You said you'd handle things," she snapped. Tom, a wiry man in his late 40s, looked harried. "I didn't think Jake would torch the whole wedding, Laura. I don't have that kind of cash." Laura's voice rose. "You're the one who wanted to be part of the family. Fix this." Tom promised to try, but his side business, small HVAC jobs, was barely solvent. He'd been living off odd jobs since Jake bought him out of Miller Plumbing 5 years ago. By evening, Jake's phone, still off, would have been flooded with messages. His lawyer, Mike Carter, left a voicemail. "Jake, heard about the wedding. Smart move, but we need to talk legal protection. Laura's already called a lawyer friend. Come see me when you're back." A local bar owner, Pete texted, Delaware, town's talking. You're a hero to half the guys in my place. Even Carlos sent a message. Boss, you okay? Whatever you did, we got your back. Jake didn't see any of it. He grilled the base he'd caught, the simple meal tasting better than anything he'd eaten in months. The next morning, Springville's gossip hit social media. A local blog, Springville Scoop, posted, Local dad cancels $50,000 wedding after daughter picks mom's boyfriend for aisle walk. A friend of Jake's, Danny, a contractor working near the Kentucky cabin, snapped a photo of Jake fishing, looking peaceful. Mind if I share this? Danny texted. Jake, checking his phone briefly, replied, Go for it. Let him see I'm fine. By noon, the photo was on Facebook, captioned, Delaware Miller living his best life. Likes and comments poured in. Good for you, Jake. About time someone stood up. Emily saw the post at work, her face burning. Her co-workers whispered, Patience stared. She called Jake, her voice shaking. Dad, everyone's talking about this. The wedding's falling apart. Can we talk? Maybe you and Tom could both walk me down the aisle. Jake, sitting on his dock, kept his tone even. You chose Tom, Emily. I'm not sharing that moment with him. You want a wedding? He can fund it. Emily's voice cracked. Dad, please. I didn't mean to hurt you. Jake paused, the lake lapping at the dock. You did, though. Choices have consequences. He hung up, casting another line. Back in Springville, Tom scrambled. He called vendors, offering partial payments, but none budged without Jake's money. Laura's anger turned to panic as the town's judgment closed in. Neighbors whispered at the grocery store. Old friends stopped calling. Tom's phone rang with a different problem. A client canceled a job, citing the scandal. Don't need drama tied to my business, the client said. Tom's dream of stepping into Jake's shoes was crumbling. Jake spent the day fishing, his mind clearer with every cast. He remembered the partnership dissolution with Tom, the $150,000 he'd paid to keep the business. Tom had seemed eager to leave, talking about new ventures. Now Jake saw it. Tom had been planning his takeover of Laura's life, maybe even Emily's loyalty. The betrayal stung, but the cabin, the lake, the quiet, they dulled the pain. Jake wasn't running. He was rebuilding. That evening, a text from Mike Carter broke the silence. Jake, Tom's sniffing around your business. Wants to buy it. Call me. Jake stared at the message, the lake reflecting the fading sun. Tom wanted Miller Plumbing? Fine. Jake would make him pay for it, literally. He turned off his phone and cast another line, the fight just beginning. Jake Miller's fishing line cut through the still Kentucky lake, the early morning sun glinting off the water. 3 days into his escape from Springville, Ohio, the cabin's quiet had worked its magic. His phone, mostly off, spared in the chaos erupting 200 miles away. Jake had canceled his daughter Emily's $50,000 wedding after she chose Tom Hayes, his wife Laura's lover and former business partner, to walk her down the aisle. Every vendor, venue, caterer, florist, was dropped, the funds redirected to his business account. Now, at his secluded cabin, Jake was free, casting lines and planning his next move. In Springville, the fallout was explosive. The town's 10,000 residents devoured the drama. Springville Scoop's blog post, Local dad cancels $50,000 wedding after daughter picks mom's boyfriend, spread like wildfire. A photo of Jake fishing, shared by his contractor friend Danny, went viral on local Facebook groups. Delaware Miller's done with the BS, one comment read, racking up hundreds of likes. Man's a legend, another said. At Donnie's bar, contractors raised beers to Jake's stand. Took guts, said Pete, the bar owner. Most guys would have just taken it. Emily faced the wreckage head-on. She stormed into the venue's office, her fiancé Tanner trailing behind. This has to be a mistake, she pleaded. The coordinator was firm. Your father canceled everything. You need to rebook with new funds. Emily's calls to vendors echoed the same. No payment, no service. Her text to Jake went unanswered, his phone off. At work, whispers followed her. A patient at the dental clinic asked, Your dad really pulled the plug on your wedding? Emily forced a smile, her stomach churning. Tanner, quiet as ever, offered little support. Maybe we rushed this, he muttered, eyeing his phone. Laura's world unraveled faster. She called Jake repeatedly, her voicemails escalating from anger to desperation. You're humiliating us, Jake. Fix this. When that failed, she turned on Tom. You said you'd handle things, she shouted at his cramped apartment. Tom, scrambling to save his failing HVAC business, snapped back. I don't have 50 grand lying around, Laura. Clients were bailing, spooked by the scandal. Can't work with a guy who'd do that to his partner. One said, canceling a contract. Laura's neighbors avoided her at the grocery store, their stares cold. The town was picking sides, and Jake was winning. Jake, oblivious to the storm, found clarity by the lake. He grilled a catfish, the simple act grounding him. A memory surfaced, Emily at 10, giggling as he taught her to bait a hook on a family camping trip. Now, at 22, she'd chosen Tom over him. The sting lingered, but Jake wasn't bitter. He was done being the fixer for people who didn't value him. His phone buzzed briefly when he checked it. A voicemail from his lawyer, Mike Carter. Jake, Tom's serious about buying Miller Plumbing. He's got investors. Meet me when you're back. The idea hit Jake like a spark. Tom wanted his business? Let him try. Jake had built Miller Plumbing from a beat-up van to a $4 million operation. Tom, who'd handled sales while Jake ran crews, had no clue about the grind, permits, client trust, crew loyalty. Jake texted Mike, counter at $3 million cash, 30-day close, non-compete for Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. He turned the phone off again, casting another line. If Tom wanted to play, Jake would set the rules. Back in Springville, Emily confronted Laura at home. Did you know how much this would hurt, Dad? She demanded. Laura, pacing, deflected. He's overreacting. Tom's been good to us. Emily's voice cracked. Good to you. Dad paid for everything, my college, this wedding, and we pushed him out. Laura froze, guilt flickering. Emily grabbed her keys. I'm fixing this. She drove to Jake's office, hoping he'd returned, but found only Carlos, the young worker. Boss is gone, Carlos said. Heard he's fishing in Kentucky. You see that photo? Man's at peace. The photo, Jake smiling on the dock, haunted Emily. Shared across Springville's social media, it painted Jake as a hero, while she and Laura became the villains. Comments piled up. Shame on that daughter. Laura's got some nerve. Emily called Jake again, leaving a tearful voicemail. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't think. Can we talk? I'll uninvite Tom. Please. No response. She sat in her car, the weight of her choice sinking in. Tanner texted, This is a mess. We need to talk. Emily ignored it, sensing his commitment waver. Tom, desperate to salvage his image, met with 3 slick investors from Columbus at a diner. Miller Plumbing's a gold mine, he pitched, voice shaky. I ran it with Jake for years. The lead investor, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s, leaned forward. We'll back you for $2 million, but you need Jake to agree. Tom nodded, hiding his panic. His credit was shot, his business crumbling. Buying Jake's company was his last shot to prove he could replace him, not just in Laura's life, but in Springville's eyes. Jake, meanwhile, spent his 3rd day in Kentucky planning. He called Mike Carter from the dock. Tom bite on the offer? Mike chuckled. He's sweating. Says he can do $2 million with investor cash. I told him your terms. $3M, no financing, non-compete. He's scrambling. Jake grinned. Good. Let him squirm. He hung up. The lake's calm, fueling his resolve. Tom had betrayed him. Laura had discarded him. And Emily had chosen sides. But Jake wasn't broken. He was rewriting his story. By evening, Springville Scoop updated its post. Wedding drama escalates. Will Tom Hay step up? Comments exploded, most cheering Jake. Delaware's showing how it's done. One read. At Donnie's bar, Pete toasted to Jake's absence. Man's out there living free while this town's eating itself. Carlos, nursing a soda, nodded. Boss deserves better. As Jake cast his final line of the day, a text from Danny arrived. Springville's losing it over you, Delaware. You're a damn folk hero. Jake Miller's truck rolled back into Springville, Ohio, under a gray dawn sky, the cooler and the bed packed with fish from his Kentucky lake. 5 days at his cabin had sharpened his focus. He'd canceled his daughter Emily's $50,000 wedding after she chose Tom Hayes, his wife Laura's lover and former business partner, to walk her down the aisle. Vendors were dropped, funds redirected, and Springville's 10,000 residents were gripped by the drama. A viral photo of Jake fishing, shared by his friend Danny, had made him a local hero. Now, back in town, Jake was ready to face the wreckage and shape what came next. Springville was still buzzing. At Donnie's bar, contractors swapped stories about Delaware's stand. Jake's nickname echoing through every toast. The Springville Scoop blog updated its headline. Wedding canceled, town divided. Where's Jake Miller? Comments piled up. Good for Delaware. Family doesn't betray like that. Jake ignored his phone, still flooded with messages from Laura, Emily, and locals. He drove straight to his lawyer Mike Carter's office, ready to protect what was his. Mike leaned back in his chair, papers stacked on his desk. Jake, you've stirred a hornet's nest. Laura's lawyer called, threatening to contest the cancellations, saying you had no right. Jake's jaw tightened. Every contract was in my name, paid with my money. What's their case? Mike grinned. Exactly what I told them. Nothing. But there's more. Tom Hayes came by, desperate to buy Miller Plumbing. Offered $2 million, backed by some Columbus investors. Jake's eyes narrowed. Counter at $3 million, cash, 30-day close, non-compete for Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. No financing. Mike nodded. Already did. He's panicking, but says he'll try. Jake left the office, his mind racing. Tom, who betrayed him with Laura and won Emily's loyalty, thought he could take Miller Plumbing too? Jake had built it from a single van to a $4 million operation. Tom, who'd handled sales while Jake managed crews, didn't know the half of it. Client trust, regulatory hurdles, crew loyalty. Let him try. Jake drove to his office, where Carlos, his young worker, greeted him. Boss, you're back. Town's calling you a legend. Jake waved it off. Just handling business. How's the crew? Carlos grinned. Solid. We got your back. In town, the wedding's collapse was a spectacle. Emily faced vendors who refused to budge without payment. We can't rebook without funds, the caterer said. Emily's pleas to Jake went unanswered. At home, she confronted Laura. This is your fault, Emily said, voice shaking. You and Tom pushed that out. Laura, haggard from sleepless nights, snapped. He's the one who burned it all down. Emily shook her head. You burned it first. She drove to Tanner's place, hoping for support, but found him distant. This drama's too much, Tanner said. I'm not sure we're ready for this. Emily left, her engagement teetering. Laura's world crumbled faster. Neighbors shunned her. Her book club friends stopped calling. She called Tom, furious. You said you'd fix this. Tom, at a diner with his investors, was sweating. I'm trying, Laura. The business deal could cover it. The lead investor, a cold-eyed man, cut in. We'll fund $2 million, Hayes. Get Miller to agree, or you're done. Tom nodded, hiding his fear. His HVAC business was dead, clients gone, his reputation trashed. Buying Jake's company was his last shot to play the hero. Jake, back at his office, sorted through files, boxing up personal items. A photo of Emily at 12, grinning in his hard hat, caught his eye. The memory hurt, but he set it aside. His phone buzzed Tom. Jake, let's talk, Tom said, voice tight. This wedding mess is out of control. I'll cover the costs. Jake laughed cold. With what? Your business is tanking. Tom hesitated. I'm buying Miller Plumbing. I can make it work. Jake leaned back. $3 million. Cash, no games. You want my life? Pay for it. He hung up, the line drawn. By evening, Mike called. Tom's investors are in. They're scrambling, but they'll meet your terms. $3 million. 30 days. Non-compete. Signings Wednesday. Jake nodded. Good. Make it ironclad. He drove home, passing the church where the wedding was set to happen. A small crowd, vendors, guests, gathered outside, arguing. Emily stood with Tanner, her face pale. Jake kept driving. At home, his phone lit up with Emily's number. Dad, please, she said, voice breaking. The wedding's a mess. I was wrong about Tom. Can we fix this? Jake's tone was steady. You chose him, Emily. Choices have costs. He hung up, the silence heavy. The next day, Springville Scoop posted again. Tom Hayes scrambles to save wedding, eyes Miller Plumbing buyout. The town ate it up, comments praising Jake. Delaware's not budging. Respect. At Donnie's bar, Pete poured Jake a beer when he stopped by. You're the talk of the town, man. Folks say you're showing how it's done. Jake shrugged. Just living my way. Contractors slapped his back, their stories of betrayal mirroring his. Jake listened, the support stealing him. Tom met his investors again, signing loan papers that sank him deeper. This better work, the lead investor warned. Tom nodded, but doubt not. He didn't know plumbing like Jake, relationships, permits, the grind. Laura, meanwhile, packed boxes, planning to flee to Florida. I can't stay here, she told Emily. Everyone hates me. Emily, tearful, didn't argue. She drove to Jake's office, finding him loading boxes into his truck. Dad, I'm sorry, she said. I didn't see how much this hurt you. Jake paused, meeting her eyes. You see now. That's a start. But I'm not fixing your mistakes. Emily nodded, wiping tears, and left. Jake drove back to Kentucky that night, the cabin waiting. He cast a line into the lake, the water calm. Tom's desperate grab for his business would likely fail. Jake knew it. The $3 million deal was his ticket out, a clean break. Springville's cheers faded behind him, but the town's respect lingered. Jake wasn't just a man scorned. He was a man reclaimed. Jake Miller stood on the dock of his Kentucky cabin, casting a line into the lake as the sun dipped low, painting the water in hues of amber. 2 weeks had passed since he returned to Springville, Ohio, to face the fallout of his daughter Emily's wedding, which he'd canceled after she chose Tom Hayes, his wife Laura's lover and former business partner, to walk her down the aisle. The $50,000 Jake had pulled from the wedding had sparked a firestorm in Springville's 10,000-strong community, turning him into a folk hero. Now, with the sale of his plumbing business to Tom for $3 million finalized, Jake was free, his future wide open. The signing had been quick, a rainy Wednesday in Mike Carter's law office. Tom, sweating in a cheap suit, signed alongside 3 Columbus investors with sharp eyes and sharper terms. Jake shook Tom's hand, his grip firm. Good luck, Jake said, meaning none of it. The non-compete clause locked Tom out of plumbing in Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky for 5 years. Jake walked out with a cashier's check, his life's work sold for a fortune. Miller Plumbing, built from a single van to a $4 million empire, was no longer his burden. At 48, he was debt-free, obligation-free, and done fixing others' messes. Springville hadn't stopped talking. Springville scoops, final post. Delaware Miller sells business, leaves town in triumph, racked up shares. Comments cheered. Jake showed him how it's done. At Donnie's bar, contractors toasted his name. Delaware's a legend. Pete, the bar owner, said, pouring free rounds. Jake's crew, led by young Carlos, sent texts. Boss, you did right. We'll miss you. Jake read them from his dock. The lake's calm, a stark contrast to the town's chaos. He didn't need the applause, but it felt good. Emily called that evening, her voice soft. Dad, the wedding's off. Tanner bailed. Jake set his fishing rod down. What happened? Emily sighed. He said the drama was too much. His family's furious. They flew in from Oregon, lost money on hotels. I don't blame them. Jake nodded to himself. And Tom? Emily paused. He's gone. Moved out after Mom found out he hid debts from her. IRS is after him. Jake's jaw tightened. And your mom? She's selling the house, moving to Florida. Says Springville's done with her. Jake looked across the lake. What about you? Emily's voice broke. Can I visit you? I want to make this right. Jake exhaled. You're welcome here, Emily. But things are different now. They hung up, a fragile bridge forming. 3 months later, Tom's gamble collapsed. Miller Plumbing shut its doors, equipment auctioned off to cover investor loans. Springville Scoop reported, Hayes tanks Miller legacy in record time. Tom's inexperience, ignoring permits, losing clients, sank him. Word spread, he was driving trucks out of Dayton, gone weeks at a time. Jake, reading the news on his phone, felt a flicker of pity but no regret. Tom had wanted his life. Now he had the consequences. Laura left for Florida, the house sold to a young couple. Springville's whispers followed her out of town. Emily visited Jake's cabin every few weeks, helping him fix a leaky roof or clear brush from the trail. Their talks were slow, honest. I was wrong, she said one afternoon, stacking firewood. I thought Tom was family. I didn't see what it did to you. Jake handed her a hammer. You see now. That's enough for a start. Emily smiled, tentative. On her 3rd visit, she brought Marcus, a high school teacher with a steady handshake. He's good to me, Dad, she said, glancing at Marcus as he helped with the grill. Jake watched them, seeing respect in Marcus's eyes, something Tom never had. Glad to hear it, Jake said, passing him a beer. Jake's new life took shape. He invested the $3 million, the interest enough for a comfortable life. He called Mike Carter to set up a trust for Emily's future, college funds for any kids, maybe a wedding someday, but with conditions, loyalty, respect, no shortcuts. Sitting on his dock, Jake reflected. He'd lost a wife, nearly a daughter, but gained something rarer, peace. Springville called him a hero, but he didn't need the title. He'd chosen dignity over resentment, and that was enough. One evening, Emily texted, "Coming Friday. Marcus wants to fish with you." Jake grinned, replying, "Bring bait. He's got a lot to learn." As the sun set, he cast another line, the lake reflecting a life rebuilt. Tom and Laura's choices had unraveled their worlds, while Jake's had set him free. The fish weren't biting, but the quiet was plenty.